how important it is for this team to get off to a hot start. Because we know last year, whatever happened, blame it on whoever you want. The reason the Lions did not make the playoffs is because they started 1-6. To make the playoffs, you have to win games. And they started off the first 7 games by winning one of them. So this season, we already know they have a gauntlet of some sorts to start the season. They go game 1 Thursday night in Arrowhead versus the Chiefs. Then they got the Seahawks at home. And then they got the Falcons at home. Then they go to the Packers. There are some tough matchups there in the first 7 games. We'll take that same sample size from when they started 1-6 last year. How imperative is it for the Lions to be, at the very least, 500? Or a game over 500 through 7 games?
It's very important. I mean, you were witness to the situation last year. They didn't make the playoffs. Like, newsflash. As great as they finished the season,
playoffs,
that 1-6 start, and as many as like the Minnesota game was kind of close. You can say the Seattle game was actually kind of close. Take away that pick 6, that's a W.
Philadelphia game was close.
Philadelphia game was close. Like, that matters. Even for the teams that didn't start that way, Seattle, and I mean, you look at Pittsburgh. I mean, there's also so many teams that made the playoffs. This is Green Bay. Green Bay didn't make the playoffs. Seattle didn't start like that, and they made the playoffs. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Seattle started like 4-0, 5-0.
Yeah.
I remember it was like one of the surprise starts. Like, what the fuck's going on there? You know,
they were hot.
We're up into the face of the Lions, but it's crucial. There's no debate about it. I don't care what anybody has to say. You can see the team rallied around each other last year and they ended up winning games. They didn't make the playoffs in doing so, and you know the stat. Starting 0-2 don't work well for you. Mm-hmm. The Bengals did it this year. They were one of the anomalies, but outside of my beliefs, Joe Burrow is him.
Yes.
And I think Joe Burrow's still very, very talented, but that's also
Tua Tagovailoa?
a special. He's better than Tua Tagovailoa. Shout out Neil Rule, but he's definitely they're a special team. You know, between just the pairing of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase alone, and to climb themselves out of that 0-2 start. I mean, they had it, and they're a damn good coach. The coach is actually really good ass coach too.
Yeah.
But they have to start fast. We can't have none of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. First of all, for our jobs, start fast. It'd be so much better if we were talking about the Lions 2-1 through 3 games than it would be 1-2 or 0-3. Mm-hmm. And you're right. This is a team that they captured that momentum at the end of the season in those last 10 games, and they looked like they could beat anybody. They're going out there and they were playing great football, playing their best football of the year. Almost beating Buffalo. Going in there, aside from the Carolina game, those last 8 games of the year, they were playing as good, if not better, football than anybody in the NFL. So you can't afford to start off slow like that again. With the expectations you have on this team, with expecting them to finally win the NFC North for the first time in franchise history, to make a playoff run, to get a playoff victory for the first time in 30 years, you need them to get off the bat hot. Because if not, you'll be playing catch-up the entire year. And this schedule is not as favorable as it was last year because you're looking at games that you hope to have wins in that are not guaranteed wins or they're going to win that game. When you look at Tampa Bay, at Baltimore, at New Orleans, at Los Angeles Chargers, home against the Broncos, at the Cowboys, these aren't gimmies. You don't have gimmies in the second half of your schedule. So you need to take advantage and beat the teams you're supposed to beat at the beginning of the year. And even call out one that maybe you're not favored to win in, whether that is the Chiefs or the Seattle Seahawks. You need to go out there. You need to assert your dominance in the standings in the NFL. Live up to the expectations that the fans of the teams have and start out hot. You can't afford another slow start if you want to win this division, if you want to make the playoffs, if you want to be this team that everybody in the national and local media is hyping you up to be, rightfully so, because of the way you finished the season last year and the additions you made to this team. You got to go out there and you got to get some wins in the beginning of the season. You can't start 1-6 again.
Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is how the league goes in general, especially now too. And maybe you could make this counter argument too. But if the 17-game season, it feels like almost anybody has a chance, and that can either one give you that extra chance or punch you out of it when somebody else beats another team that you just happen to lose to. I think they make the playoffs for sure. Mm-hmm. But if they lose, they start the season 0-2. I have concerns. Yeah, absolutely. And newsflash, you can talk all the shit you want about Seattle. The Lions have the youngest team.
Yeah.
Seattle is number 2. All right, and you guys are real familiar with the names. Tariq Woolen. I'm not familiar with the names, obviously, but the
Kobe Bryant, Kenneth Walker.
But the left tackle, they had to
both of their tackles.
Both the tackles, rookie tackles,
Yep.
perform. And the biggest leap is from your rookie year to your sophomore year. We've been bragging about it for the Detroit Lions rookies all off season long. That same logic applies to the young Seattle Seahawks team too, which, by the way, had another fucking killer draft. Like, you start the season off, the fires are fucking to you. And again, I expect Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions entire coaching staff and roster to perform at that level. I mean, I think they proved it to you last year that they can. So no excuses. They have to start this thing off with a bang.
Yeah, for sure. JB, how important is it to you for the Lions to get off to a hot start?
I mean, it's very important, but also it's important that they just not stop fighting. I know you're going up against the Super Bowl champions on a Thursday night, but if you could just go in there and continue to fight regardless of how bad or how tough this other team might be, then that's enough for me. And I don't just mean continue fighting in the chance that you're just keeping the score close. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can sit here and have Patrick Mahomes worried about what play is going to come there or who's going to come after him, if you can sit here and give Travis Kelce no space, if you can have the Kansas City receivers on lock for the entire game, then that is enough for me, because you can't go into game 2 and just be like, oh, well, we'll just stick with the same game plan we had. No. If you can sit there and compete with the Super Bowl champs, then regardless down the line, the rest of the schedule, you can beat any team that you have coming up. If you can just sit here and say, hey, we hung with the Super Bowl champions, we can do this the rest of the way out and finish the season off right.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits every narrative we said about the starting quarterback. Is like he's one you can win with, one you can win in spite of, but he's never really the one that's gonna like bring you back in challenging moments and big moments. You do against the Vikings that missed the playoffs that year and also ended up in the top 10. But I don't, in my opinion, I mean, maybe go back 2018 against Patrick Mahomes, speaking of KC, but outside that game, like, when's he ever outdueled another quarterback? When's he ever been known? Like, when's that been his narrative? When that's been his MO? It hasn't been. So you have to start hot. Maybe not even just hot. Just keep him where the game's in front of him. He's not trying to chase anything back from behind, because this is not his game. And on a season long too. Again, if your goal is playoffs, at the very least. Chris,
yeah.
Are we tripping?
No, you guys aren't tripping. You guys are 100% right, but I am going to push back just a little bit. And again, obviously you're not rooting for, you're not hoping for, you're not expecting the 1-6 start that happened last year. But it did show you that when this team's back is against the wall, they are not going to quit. They're not going to give up on Dan Campbell. They are not going to give up on this coaching staff, this season, this franchise. This is a team that can rally from behind and defy all odds. So this is a team that, while you don't want to be put in that position, this team should be comfortable in that position more so than most teams. Again, you want to start, it's essential, especially with the higher expectations this year, but this is a team that's shown that they can handle a very high level of adversity, especially for a young team. So I have faith in them throughout the whole season.
Yeah. And going like way too into it. And this is looking at it in a long-term way. If you want to nurture a possible superstar receiver back into like having a bright future, speaking of Jameson Williams, who's been kind of like, even words that I've said that I didn't mean to be taken as like a critical stance of him, just like me wanting to look out for him, keep him safe in the fucking second most dangerous city in the country. He's got a lot riding on him. And you start 0-6, he's coming back to that negative energy that he's already had around him. We've seen the situation with Eric Ebron. We've seen the situation with other guys too. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but like Jeff Okuda.
Yeah.
That stench. That's why like I say things all the time, like speak positivity, like speak it to existence, because like sometimes you gotta keep that mindset to brush through the bullshit, because that bullshit, it's so easy to let it drag you down.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen to Jameson Williams, because I think we've seen that he could truly be something special. So I think that fast start has a little something to do with that too, and a long-term run with a piece that you made a heavy investment in when you traded with a division opponent to move to 12 to get him. That's again like just maybe stretching a little bit there, but I feel that way about it too.
No, it's for sure. Stuff like that compounds, and he's already obviously in a place that he doesn't want to be in when missing the first 6 games. If he goes out there and he sees his team again start 1-5 or something like that, it will just compound that kind of information or that kind of thought process more, and could lead to some bad things. I'm not going to speak to the psyche of Jameson Williams and what he's dealing with right now, but I'm sure that he's not happy with himself, and he'd love to be out there playing with his guys. What is so Lions' first 7 games: Chiefs, Seahawks, Falcons, Packers, Panthers, Bucks, Ravens. What is the least amount of wins you would accept in that stretch?
Can you go through this one more time?
Chiefs,
Okay.
Seahawks, Falcons,
Okay.
Packers, Panthers, Bucks, and Ravens.
Packers, I'm giving W. Bucks, I'm gonna give them W. Out of like just speaking into the universe, like I just said, I gotta give you the W against Seattle too. Mm-hmm. So you give me the first 5 games?
7.
7.
Panthers too. You didn't mention.
Panthers and Falcons.
Panthers and Falcons.
I need 4.
Yeah.
And another reason too. I mean, you want to talk about like me needing 4? I need 4 specifically. I need 1 out of the Seahawks, cause you gotta get your lick back. 2 out of the Panthers, you gotta get that lick back too. And 3 out of the Packers, just because that's a division opponent. You gotta put your nuts on them real quick for a minute. Just let them know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's big bro season over here. You know what I'm saying? We're talking all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Not just us. Everyone. National media. Like, you gotta flex
You
your
gotta
nuts.
show them whose north it is.
Yeah. Fucking
For me, I'm not gonna say this is the least amount I'd expect, or the least amount I'd take, but I'm expecting 5. Because I do expect them to beat the Falcons, the Packers, the Panthers, and the Bucks, and then give me 1 win out of Chiefs, Seahawks, or Ravens. Whoever that is, that you're going to beat out of those 3 teams. Those are the best 3 teams you play in the first 7 games. I expect a 1 win out of those 3, and then to clean up the scraps on the other teams.
Yeah. Yeah, 5.
That's fair.
I'm not saying that's the least amount I'd accept, or if they don't win 5
No,
games.
I know. But that's fair.
I expect 5 wins out of that 7-game stretch.
Chris, you getting jumpy in there. What's up?
Yeah, I'm 100% with that. The way you broke it down is 100% how I would agree with that. I think that's a good way of looking at it. You count those wins as those wins against the Panthers, the Packers, the Bucks, and what was the other team? Falcons should all be W's. And then it's definitely conceivable to win one of those 3 games, if not 2 of those 3 games against Seattle, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. The one that will be really important to me in those first 7 games is Seattle, because I do think, for everything you guys said, Seattle is going to be a much improved team despite being a better team than the Lions last season. And so that could really determine seeding. You saw it cost the Lions last year. It could very well cost them in a different way this year. Maybe not the difference of missing out in the playoffs, but playoff seeding and matchups and all that. Seattle's a team I'm really looking at. I think that's one of the most crucial games for the Lions this season.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's going to be a team fighting for the division, fighting for a wild card spot in the NFC. So that's a team you're going to want to beat, because obviously we all assume that San Francisco is going to win that division, but Seahawks are a pretty damn good team, and they did get better through the draft. So we'll see what's going on. But if the Lions start 1-6 again, I'm going to need somebody to talk to.